Guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today, as a lover of literature, I truly like to immerse myself in texts that are significant, emotional, and that have, a real lasting consequence to the point that you really think about them every so often. You're like, wow, I can't believe this piece of art exists and I get to live in the same timeline as this piece of art. That being said, we're reading Cosmopolitan, the opposite of everything I just described. So this article is titled, "What the Amount of Time It Took Him to Text Back Means. Stop having a panic attack. They might really be busy with work." So I'm gonna just preface this here. Low-key, I feel slightly attacked by some of this article because I'm not the type of person who plays games in the sense of if a friend takes an hour to message me back, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna take an hour and a half. And I know that this pertains more to dating stuff, but obviously I have a husband, so dating doesn't really pertain to me. But even back in the day when I was dating, I didn't ever really date anyone. Even back in the day when I was talking to people that I ended up not ever dating, it never was this type of thing where I'd get hung up on how long they took as much as, for me, I become paranoid that I said something that wasn't okay. So if they take a long time, it's not that I'm like, why are you taking 68 minutes to respond? But it's more like, oh shit, did I say something? Did I make it weird? What did I do essentially? Just gonna preface that. But before we get into that, I did want to thank today's sponsor, which is Function of Beauty. Function of Beauty creates personalized shampoo and conditioner based on your hair type and goals. All you need to do is fill out a 2-minute quiz, where you can even pick the color and fragrance you want and you're set. You even get your name literally on the bottle. They're also free of parabens, sulfates, GMOs, or toxins, and are 100% vegan and cruelty-free. They also offer hair care products such as leave-in treatments and hair serums, so you have your whole hair routine covered. To top it all off, it's delivered straight to your door, and you can subscribe so you automatically continue to receive your personalized formulas consistently. Now, originally, before my file corrupted, these were the Function of Beauty bottles that I had used up, which were orange and yellow. But since that file corrupted, I got my month's new ones, which are these two. I always gravitate towards the blues and greens. I feel like these are the colors I get most often. As I've been using Function of Beauty for quite a while now, since before I was even sponsored, I feel like my hair feels a lot stronger, even though there were things that have gotten in the way, like sometimes stress that can sometimes affect your hair growth or loss. I feel like my hair has grown stronger, especially as I have this part that's bleached, so I needed all the revitalizing I could get, and I honestly cannot recommend Function of Beauty enough. Follow my link in the description to get 20% off your first order. Anyways, thank you Function of Beauty for sponsoring this video. Obviously, I've already read this article, and frankly, the first time I filmed this, it became a very long video for some points that are very redundant, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. When you really like someone you're texting with, it can be easy to get anxiety spiraled into reading their response time as more than it is. For those of you who haven't sat there in terror, feeling every single second between sending a text and receiving a response 4 hours later, we applaud you. But the rest of us who do know the feeling of anticipation and fear between firing off texts and DMs and memes, here's what it means when he's presumably not at work and just choosing to text you back at this time. I'm gonna say this here and now, nobody owes you to text back immediately. In fact, most of the time, that's the point of text. It's not necessarily instant messaging. It's more like, I'll text you when I'm free, you text me back when you're free, and so on and so forth. So as much as I understand the kind of anxiety of worrying if you said something that's not okay, it's also like, people have lives. So I'm just gonna say that again because in this article, you'll understand that that's kind of a concept that's not very well understood. So I'm gonna say it again. People have lives. And FYI, if your partner is busy at work and you're still wondering why does he take so long to text me back? He's got a legit excuse. None of these really apply because they're at work, and probs can't be rapid fire text partner you want or need in that moment because job. Just like you can't be expected to be hyper responsive 24/7, aka during important meetings, it goes both ways. But this article is more for when, they're just at home chilling and don't have an annual review happening at that exact moment. Again, people have lives. If someone wants to sit on the couch and not answer your text, they're allowed to do that. So even then, I don't really feel like you need an excuse. Sometimes you're just not in the mood to talk. And this is also the thing. It's would you rather someone message you back being bitchy, or would you rather them take the evening off from answering you and then responding when they're in the right headspace? Just a general question I'm wondering about. If he texts you back before you've even finished sending your response, if they text you back before you've even finished sending your follow-up, that you're either A, on another level and communicating with your soulmate, twin flame, what have you, or B, texting someone who is super duper into you. If you send a message to someone and they somehow read the rest of your thought and answer you before you've even finished building your question in your head, you know it's real. At the least, you've shaved off minutes of your interaction efficiency. I really don't think it's healthy to read into things like this, because the reality is, as much as I think we've all been in a situation wondering why is it taking them this long to answer me, did I say something wrong, blah blah blah, the reality is, unless you ask them, you're never gonna know. And I feel like this particular article specifically attacks me because this is my overthinking pattern in certain things, not really texting, but in certain other social interactions. I'll say something and then I'll go into like deep regret, even though I said the most fucking average, mild thing I could have said. And then I'll think about it for days and be like, oh my God, you're such an idiot. They probably think you're the dumbest person alive. And then the depression gets worse. Number 2, if he texts you back within a few seconds. So as you can see, we're already getting into nitty-gritty detail, which doesn't necessarily need to be differentiated in the sense of, you know, when you were in high school and you were trying to get to word count, this is what this article is. Because really, is there a big difference between him texting you back before you were finished texting and him texting you back within a few seconds? Is there such a massive difference that there has to be a different category? No. And that's why we're gonna skip a bunch of them, because I think they're like 11, and I'm gonna link it down below if you really want to subject yourself to it. Strongly suggest getting a bottle of wine or 7 or something stronger maybe even, because it's an experience. If he texts you back within a few seconds, rapid fire responders are another sure way of knowing someone's extremely interested in talking to you and what you have to say. If your text partner answers you and volleys it back to you within seconds, not minutes, V different, this also suggests that they're open and honest, that whatever they sent was not agonized over for hours before sending. No games here, just efficient communication and a desire to keep it going. Lucky you. Yeah, that's a very optimistic way of seeing it, because actually them answering this fast could mean also that they're a player and that they've had this exact conversation with multiple other people, so they don't have to think about it or agonize over it because they've already had this conversation. And in fact, maybe having the same exact conversation with another person at the exact same time. This kind of optimism is kind of stupid in my opinion, because responding quickly doesn't mean you're being honest. Like, there are plenty of times when I was younger where I lied about shit and it was like this. Let's just keep going. I'm gonna skip a few categories just for our own mental health. Oh yeah, so the next category was if he texts you back within a few minutes, which is very different from 30 seconds, obviously. And then there's another category that says if he texts you back within 10 minutes to an hour. This one is pretty much standard for humans with days off who actually like each other, because it means he's not sitting by the phone, but he's checking it often enough to see if anyone cool, aka you, has texted him. Either that, or he's always on his phone and is seriously just sitting on his hands, so he waits at least 5 minutes before texting you back because he'll seem hashtag super chill, even though those minutes barely make a difference, but oh well. I need an explanation. Do minutes make a difference or not? You're here differentiating 30 seconds to 1 minute as this like stratospheric, cataclysmic difference, and then here now you're like, oh, as if a couple minutes make a difference. Sis, you need to pick one. It's either it makes a massive difference or it makes no difference. And if it makes no difference, why the fuck are you writing this article? I would like to underline also, 2 whole ass people wrote this article. So like 2 actual brains. Well, I don't know if people like Cosmo thought, you know what, I'm not gonna be that mean, but let's keep going. 5, if he texts you back an hour later. So this is obviously very different from 10 minutes to an hour. This is an hour. Pronto? Ti posso richiamare tra 10 minuti, sto solo finendo di filmare. What does it mean if you get a call from your mom while you're filming? Tell me that, Cosmo. Anyway, if he always texts you back at the same interval of time, like clockwork. It always baffles me when I look at a guy's texts and see them start to form a pattern. Like, oh my God, Greg always texts me back 67 minutes after I text him. What the hell is this? And in reality, it could be a coincidence, or he could have read some horrible book about how to be a pickup artist and 67 minutes was supposed to be the panty dropper reply time. Either way, it's a little OCD and worth asking about casually sometime. I don't want to be that person, but if he's texting you back every 67 minutes, that's really fucking weird. It's also very weird if you're tracking every time he texts you back to that level of specificity. It'd be one thing if he texts you back on the dot on the hour, because whatever. But 67 is a very weird thing to notice. It's a very weird thing that you're tracking to that extent. So as much as I think the person is weird, you're pretty weird too, dude. Okay, I'm gonna go to the second to last category because those are more interesting. If he texts you back a week later like he's a customer service rep at a major corporation, again, unless he texts you with, hey, my whole family was killed in a dramatic boating accident, this likely means that he's not that into talking to you at all, but then got an erection and was like, this is still a borderline reasonable window of time to see if I can still hit that. Now, obviously this is different for everyone, especially if like you're dating or talking or interested or whatever the fucking term is with the kids these days. But I also would suggest looking into what kind of headspace the person's in, because I know that sometimes I'll go without responding to people for a couple days or a week, and most of the time I'll preface it by being like, yo, I'm in a really bad depressive phase. If I don't respond to you, don't worry, like everything's fine, I just need a break. And I mean, like when you're only first talking to someone, you might not feel comfortable saying that, so you might just go MIA. Not to say that it's cool, it sucks, the feeling sucks, but nonetheless, I just don't think that conclusions should be jumped to. Though, of course, there are fuckboys who will do shit like this and just try and use you. So, yeah, could be valid, depending. If he texts you back and you haven't talked to him in so long that you deleted his number, this is like number 10, but multiplied by 1,000. I can almost guarantee that what happened here was he wasn't that into you, moved on, maybe dated a few other people, broke up with them too, got lonely one night, and was like, oh man, I still have that girl's number from a few months ago. I'll just text her a chill sup, and she'll be totally dying to hear from me. And you're like, haha, who is this? Also, I'm pretty sure I know who it is, and I hate you now, bye. I think the main thing that we can all learn from Cosmopolitan, just a massive emotional maturity. Like, all of this doesn't scream young teen girl who is being overly dramatic. This all seems very mature. Now, like I said, of course, there is such a thing as having anxiety when someone doesn't respond or when they take a while, just because you might worry about if you said something wrong. But I do think it's also unhealthy to keep that close of tabs. It does remind me of the movie He's Just Not That Into You. If you guys haven't seen it, I strongly recommend it. It's actually one of my favorite rom-coms because a lot of it just applies, and I've seen a lot of my friends plus myself do certain things that are in that rom-com. The basic gist that I think is the most important is to not really overanalyze until it's time. You know, like if you notice like a recurring pattern after a while, that's one thing. But when you first start talking and you don't know what their reply time is like, you don't know what their mental health is like, you don't know just like what their messaging style even is like, you know, some people use punctuation, some don't at all. It's all, you know, something that you need to get used to. So like, as much as these articles in a way funny because they're so ridiculous, it's also like, I do feel like they are bordering sometimes on obsessive or overly analytical to the point where you might ruin your own mood, and that's coming from someone who does that all the time. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys overanalyze shit like this like I do? Do you get anxiety? Let me know if you've been in this situation and how you react. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always. Let's get right